This is Original Six.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Original Six, the podcast, and this is a very special episode today. Ryan Savine, as always, joined by Paul Ananitis and Zach Mullen, and we are so excited to introduce our very special guest today and our first guest on the podcast, so even more honors. If you don't know who it is, he played 12 seasons with the Maple Leafs, 6 of which served as captain. He holds the NHL record of points in a game with 10. He was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1989, and in 2017, he was named one of the 100 greatest players in NHL history. Please welcome, everybody, Mr. Darryl Sittler. Darryl, thank you very much for joining us today.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be here.
Awesome. A huge thank you. I know the three of us are kind of all freaking out a little on the inside because we're big fans of yours.
Just a bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. We're all very excited and just thank you again. So we're going to get right into it. And, the first thing I wanted to ask you, because, the chance that we have to talk to you right now with what's going on in the world is a very interesting time. So I want to know what you've been doing to keep busy, probably watching some Leaf games. If you have any good Netflix recommendations, what have you been up to?
Well, it's been challenging for everybody. It started a little over a year ago. I have a place in Florida, so most winters we go back and forth to Florida, but this year we haven't been there at all. We've got 6 grandkids, and I always enjoy spending time with them, but now with this social distancing and, forcing you to kind of just stay within your own little bubble, it makes it more difficult to spend quality time with family, but thank God for Zoom calls and FaceTime and those sorts of things that we can continue those relationships. I have a summer home north of here, and I go back and forth there, spend a little time just to get a change of scenery. But watching some of the Leaf games, normally Wendell Clark and I, who work with the organization, would be down there doing our VR visiting box, corporate sponsors and partners and those sorts of things. But obviously this year we've been doing some of it with Zoom calls and virtual meetings and those sorts of things. So it's been different, but at the same time, I'm like everybody else, we got to get through it. I was fortunate to get vaccinated 2 weeks ago today, my Pfizer shot. So
very nice.
I feel I'm on the right side of things, and we just all have to kind of, just do what we're supposed to do and work together to get through it. That's the only way it's going to happen. But I've been doing some of these cameo appearances in Memo, which has been fun. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but you certainly can light up a person's life, because normally you'd be getting together for the granddad's birthday or the father's, and I happen to be a favorite player of some of them. And so you send a little surprise message along to them, which is kind of cool to do those sorts of things.
Yes. Safe to say the three of us are fathers. You're definitely up there, if not number one.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think this is a good place for us to start. Just to kind of speak from my own experience on behalf of the guys and, our generation of Leaf fans. Growing up, when we heard the name Darryl Sittler, that was like a legend, right? Like your name and your number and your photo was up in the rafters at, the then Air Canada Center. We knew about your 10-point game and just how much you meant to the team. And at some point, the name Darryl Sittler kind of became synonymous with the Toronto Maple Leafs for us. So I want to know, what it's like knowing that all these years after your time as a player, what it's like to have such a big and important impact on, hockey, the Maple Leafs and their fans.
Well, it's been nice. Did I expect it? No, but I try to get up every day and live my life normally. I try to help other people, get involved in some charities and those sorts of things. So when you keep your name and your face out there and you're doing good things, kind of paying it forward, so to speak, I guess it resonates with people. I'm 70 years old, and like you're saying, you guys weren't around when I was playing, and set the 10-point record 45 years ago, which is still a record today. So every year that comes around and people are aware of it, that I have it. But it's been great. I'm fortunate that the Leaf organization has welcomed me back to participate and do things. Our alumni association has a great relationship with the current management, and we all feel honored to be a part of it. And I always remind the players today that someday they're going to be alumni like us, and it's important to have that that family, so to speak, to go to after your careers and your playing days are over. So it's been nice, and I hope it continues for a long time for sure.
Yeah, I just want to mention this really quickly. I have a memory of you, but it wasn't in person. I remember I was in grade 5, and we had an assignment to pick, someone kind of like a celebrity, someone we looked up to, and to write them a letter. Just send them a letter, say what you want to say. So I sent you a letter, something along the lines of, "Hi, Darryl, I'm a big fan. You kind of worked with my dad years ago." I don't know what grade 5 Ryan would have written, but I remember a few weeks later, you actually wrote me a letter back, and I got it in school, and I was so excited to open it that I actually ripped the autographed photo that you sent of me in the process. So that's
Oh,
a funny
boy.
memory of mine. Maybe after this,
Well,
we can arrange for you to replace it, but I just want to, little things like that means the world to a little kid. So thank you for all that kind of stuff that you've done over the years.
So when you say that, I get out and have the opportunity to meet people and speak and stuff, and I tell a similar story. When I was a little kid growing up, my parents didn't have the money to take us to a Maple Leaf game. I grew up in Kitchener-Waterloo, but my dad was paycheck to paycheck. But somehow somebody gave him some tickets for an exhibition game at the Kitchener Auditorium. So September, I'm young like yourself, maybe 7, 8 years old, going to my first NHL game. But after the game, it was Chicago playing the New York Rangers. We were waiting outside. So players came out of the arena to step onto the bus, hoping to get an autograph. And I was standing there. It was a cold September night with this scrunched up piece of paper and a pen. And these players would walk by me. Nobody stopped. Nobody stops you. You're disappointed. Then finally, 2 guys stopped. Bobby Hull, which was the star of the Blackhawks at the time, and Andy Bathgate, who was the captain of the Red Wings,
Wow.
or the Rangers, I mean. So, but my point being is first impressions are lasting for any of us. Today, you're listening. You only have one shot at it. Could be good, could be bad, or it could be indifferent. But if you can make a good impression to somebody, then to me, that's important. So I always remember that feeling as a little kid, what it meant to me. So when I became the Leaf player and a captain and the opportunity to do things, I've always tried to go back to, hey, this is important. Yeah, I might be busy and be in a different set of mind, but you got to stop and separate yourself and look at the circumstance or the point you're in to make that person first time memory an important one for them. So
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. So going back to when you were talking about that 10-point game, obviously, I'm pretty sure all 3 of us know you've been asked this question so many times, but everyone listening would definitely want us to say it again. We just wanted to know, what was that experience like playing, and what was your mentality in that 10-point night?
Well, back in the 70s, I back it up a little bit. So I was fortunate when I was drafted by the Leafs in 70. The Leafs had won the Cup in 67. So a number of players who had been on the Stanley Cup 67 team were my teammates. So I got to watch them. Dave Keon, George Armstrong was one of them, Ronnie Ellis. And I understand as a rookie coming in, the history, the tradition, what the Stanley Cup means, what it was like to win it, and experience that. So when the original 6 teams played in the 70s on a Saturday night, that was a big game for fans in Maple Leaf Gardens. Normally it was televised coast to coast hockey night in Canada. So we were playing the Bruins. It was February. And there was a little bit of excitement and anticipation. The Bruins are coming to town. But what happened was our owner, Harold Ballard, who was a little bit cantankerous and colorful at the same time, he made a comment to one of the Toronto newspapers on the Thursday before the Saturday game that only he could find a centerman to play with Lanny McDonald and Harold Thompson. They were my wingers. And so basically he was giving a shot to me, to the media, which was kind of common back then with him. So then I go out that night and I score the 10 points. And but what happened the day of the game, normally every player has a routine you go by. And I lived in Mississauga at the time. And I went to the morning practice, and on the way home, I got stuck in traffic, and I knew my wife wasn't going to be home to make me lunch, and I was behind time, and I knew I wanted to have a nap. So I stopped in at Swiss Chalet, grabbed some chicken and some French fries. And I remember eating it on the front seat of my car because I wanted to get home and have a quick nap, So that night, go to the rink, and at the end of the second period, I had 7 points. And I didn't know what the record was, but I knew obviously we're having a good game. We're beating the Bruins. The building's alive and a buzz. The statistician came down to me between the second and third period. And he says, "Darryl, I don't know if you know it, but you got 7 points. If you get one more, you tie Rocket Richard record of 8 from back in the 40s." So that was kind of exciting to know going into the third period, you had a chance to tie a record. Well, go there in the third period, everything fell into place. I scored 3 more goals. The last goal, you guys probably saw the highlights. I was behind the net. I was trying to pass the puck out to my winger, Errol Thompson, who was in the slot, and Brad Park, the Bruin defenseman, stuck his skate to block it, deflected it, went between Reese's legs. And that was the 10th goal. But I put my hand up and just shook my head, and, everything was a magical night. But we played the next night in Toronto. We had back-to-back home games, Saturday, Sunday, which was unusual. So we didn't even go out and celebrate. We went on our way home, just stopped in, got a quick bite to eat. But at the time, I didn't realize the magnitude of what that record was. I often thought in the 90s, when Wayne Gretzky was getting a couple hundred points a season and Mario Lemieux, that those would be the 2 guys that would probably tie it or break it. They got 8 a few times. Nobody got 9 or 10. And then, so here we are, 45 years later, and still hold the record, which was awesome. And a lot of great players have played. So proud to do it in a Leaf uniform. Every year I get reminded of it. There's a book called My Leaf Sweater. And when I was asked to do that back in '89, do I want to do a children's book on the 10-point game? I thought that'd be kind of cool. I didn't get paid for it. Just thought it'd be kind of cool to have that as a kid's story. And a lot of kids, I don't know if you guys remember it. You're probably maybe a little bit too old, but have that book, and it's been a big seller. It's in all the school libraries. So that whole story continues to live on, which is nice. In fact, I got to the point now where I've signed that book way back. So it came out in '89, so over 30 years ago. And now the kid that I signed it for is getting it re-signed for his father, or the grandfather who gave it to him, which is kind of a cool thing to have.
That's nice. And but obviously it's an extra special night for Leaf fans, especially because you did it against Boston, knowing our rivalry against them in the last couple of years. So as you said, this year does mark the 45th anniversary of your 10-point night. And a lot of good players, as you said, Gretzky, Lemieux, have not even touched this record. And obviously, if we had to make a guess for the recent players, Connor McDavid would be an obvious choice. But I was just wondering, if you had to pick a player from this year's roster on the Leafs, who would you think would have the closest chance of even tying or beating that record?
Well, it'll be hard for anybody, obviously. The very few times 10 goals are scored. And back then, very few times 10 goals were scored. But when you put a culmination of guys together like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, who are both creative and both can score goals, that combination, one of those 2 possibly could have it. No different when you talk about Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, because they're they're putting up lots of nights. Are getting 4 points or 5 points, and who knows? Some night it might all happen and get together to do it, but it'll be hard. One record that I think will stand for a long time was when Austin Matthews had his first game in the National Hockey League as a rookie, scored 4 goals in his very first game. Now that's a pretty substantial record to have, to get 4, never mind just in one game anytime through your career, but to do it on your very first game in the National Hockey League was kind of cool.
For sure.
Yeah, I know for the rest of the guys, myself included, that Austin Matthews 4-goal night was pretty incredible. I remember losing my voice, screaming from the couch. I was super excited. I know the season before hadn't gone too well, so him coming in and kind of giving us that hope in the very first game was pretty incredible.
What happens before Anthony? What happens when there's a game going on and somebody starts out and they got 3 points in the first period or 4 or 5 points? I get texts all the time now. You're watching this guy's going to challenge you for your record. So everybody's on top of it. And obviously with the internet today, everything's just like that. So we're up to speed on it. So it's just kind of
cool. Towards your end of the time with the Leafs, you played a lot with Rick Vaive, who has the Maple Leafs record for 54 goals in one season. What do you think about Austin Matthews maybe going for that record? I don't know about in a shortened season this year, but maybe in the future?
Well, definitely. I mean, Austin, he scores goals and he loves scoring goals. He's got a passion for it. I mean, I think obviously if COVID didn't happen and the season wasn't shortened last year, he had a very good shot at breaking or tying that record. I mean, this year, what has he got? 30-some goals already in a few games. So he's definitely the guy that would have a crack at it, Things have changed a little bit. There was a period of time where there was I don't know, you guys would know the stats better than I, but a number of players got 50 goals in the season, where in the last few years, 1 or 2 guys maybe get 50 goals. So it's changed a lot. So the fact that if you can score 50 goals today in an 80 game season, 82 game season, then hey, that's fantastic.
Speaking of Matthews, so the way he scores is a lot different than goals that were scored 20, 30, 40 years ago. As an alumni, what's it like to watch the Maple Leafs now, considering how different the game has become since you last played?
Well, I certainly admire the skill level. I mean, obviously the coaching is, coaches coach to coach defense first, but you have to have players to put the puck in the net because you don't get a lot of scoring chances. So you need those gifted, talented players. But the thing that I see differently in the game from when I played, and I'm not saying it's any better or any worse, is that when we played, there was always seemed to be a game within the game that you as a fan would know and a player would know. So it'd be Ty Domi lining up against Bob Probert. It'd be Tiger Williams against Keith Magnuson or whoever it was. Not always fights, but hard hits. Somebody ran the goalie. And players were allowed, not that they're not allowed now, but we're okay to be characters. There was personalities and stuff like that, Where now, when I listen to guys, there's very few, but most of them are just on cue, online, say what they're supposed to say, and nothing happens that's very colorful. The exception to that might be a Tachuk out in Calgary, his brother. They have that spontaneous personality, which I like. You as a fan, when you're going to the game, you're watching Leafs playing whoever, and Wendell Clark was going to be out against whoever you felt that in the building before the game started. So there's less of that now. I miss some of that. I'm not saying it's bad because they don't have that, but it is different. There are the penalty. I mean, back again when I played, it was a tough area to go in front of the net. You couldn't stand there. You were getting cross-checked, and the goalie was whacking you in the back of the legs and those sorts of things. So there was an element of fear and courage to go to some areas of the ice, which was the part of the game. And intimidation part of the game was allowed back then, So you had, if you as a fan, you could feel that whether a player had the balls or the courage to go to those areas, or if he didn't, where that part of the game isn't much a factor anymore because of the rule changes, which is okay. But I love when we see those international hockey games when the best players in the world and the skills out there, and there's lots of great scoring chances. I mean, when Connor McDavid has the puck at full speed and he comes in and he cuts in around the defenseman onto the goal and he throws it up the top shelf, it's phenomenal what he can do at his speed. So, that's all exciting and fun to watch.
He definitely is something special. I had a couple fun questions I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
So this is a hypothetical question. You announced you're going to come out of retirement and play one more game as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Sheldon Keith comes over to you and says, Darryl, you're going to be centering the top line tonight. Who do you want on the roster as your two wingers? Who did you take?
Well, who I'd pick, no disrespect for who I didn't pick, okay? So that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a centerman, I would take a guy like Mitch Marner and Zach Hyman as my wingers. Hyman's in there digging the puck out. He comes to play every night. You know what you're going to get. And Mitch is such a creative guy. And it was a little bit like when I played with Lanny McDonald and I had Tiger Williams on the left side. Lanny and I had that 1-2 combination. We knew each other. Where did he get the puck in a good spot? He could put it in and score. So I guess those would be the two guys that I would pick.
Yeah, no surprise there. Both great players. You brought up Lanny there, another favorite Leaf of all of ours in Leafs Nation. So this is a fun one I like to call Shave It or Save It. So you have two options here. You have Lanny McDonald and Austin Matthews. One mustache you get to shave and the other you can save. What's your choice on this one?
Well, I would save Lanny's because he's had it for so long. He's been offered by Gillette and other companies to shave it off, but that's his trademark and his history and his tradition, and he's got such a character in his face that
absolutely
I would never want him to shave it off. I remember when he didn't have one when he first started out. There's the odd picture at the Scotiabank Arena up with him with no mustache, but Austin's I don't know how long it's going to last or if it's going to last, but Lanny's has been there forever. I would never shave it off.
Yeah, Lanny's is definitely legendary.
For sure. For sure. I mean, it's been nice seeing all the new guys playing. And so So we know you had that 10-point game and the game-winning goal in the Canada Cup, and you have that statue of yourself in Legends Row outside of Scotiabank Arena, and so many other great accolades in your career. But what would you say is the greatest accomplishment of your career?
Well, the accomplishment, the most satisfying moment of my career, it wasn't a goal or it wasn't an assist. It was the night that the Leafs honored me by putting my banner up, at the Air Canada Center at the time. And I'll give you the background of why it is so meaningful. My wife was diagnosed with colon cancer, and she was going through treatments for about 3 years. And I got a call from Ken Dryden, the president of the Leafs, saying they're going to honor myself and Frank Mahovlich. They're going to do it on the 75th anniversary of the opening night of the Leaf season, 75th anniversary, which was October the 3rd. And I'd said to Ken on that call, I said, Wendy's got cancer, and I don't know if the timing's going to work. She's pretty ill. But worked out, I didn't put it up. Wendy was too ill. They honored Frank on October the 3rd, but Wendy died October the 6th. It was Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. So the Leafs said to me, you wait, and whenever you're ready, we're still going to go ahead with it. So I waited almost a year and a half. And then I thought I'd like to do it on a night that the Leafs are playing the Montreal Canadiens. Again, Saturday night tradition, hockey night in Canada, the rivalry. Canadians were my favorite team as a kid growing up. So we picked February the 8th, 2003, I guess it was. And about a month before, Ken Dryden, the president, called me in his office, and he showed me an artist rendering of what the banner was going to look like for my approval. And while I was sitting there, I said, Ken, what would really be meaningful for me if I could put my wife, Wendy's name on the banner? I said, you know how much she's been a part of my life. The captain of the team. She was, the person behind the scenes doing everything, family. And I think that I would like to honor her because of my success. And I caught him off guard, and I knew I caught him off guard. And he said, Darryl, I don't know that we could do that. The other players might want their wives on it. And he went to the board of directors, the ownership. He came back to me. He said, here's what we agreed on. Well, we can put Wendy's name on, but we'll do it with the blue writing on the blue jersey, so you'll know it's there, and I'll know it's there, and your kids will know. And I said, no, we're going to put it up. It doesn't have to be big, but it has to be where you can see it, And I had a handwritten letter that Wendy gave me, and she had good writing, and I kind of showed it to them. So they agreed to do it. They put her name on the stripe on the jersey. So that evening, my 3 children, Ryan, Megan, and Ashley, were with me at center ice, and I was doing my speech. And as the banner was going up, I said, Wendy's here in spirit, and her name is on the banner. And there wasn't a dry eye in the place. I don't know if you guys are around to watch that, or across Canada, right? And to me, that was the most meaningful thing. It kind of all brought it back together. Like, okay, I was an NHL career, I had the history of doing things. My banner's going up, but my family was there. And so that was the most meaningful, rewarding, satisfying experience in my career. The banner, the name is still on there on the 100th anniversary. I don't know if you guys know, they took all the old banners down, and they took them to each of the players' hometown or wherever you wanted to have it hang. And I grew up in this little village of St. Jacobs, a little Mennonite community, and I worked at the farmers market, the St. Jacobs Farmers Market. And they just built a new building because it had burnt down, and that's where I placed it, because I was a kid growing up. It was kind of the full circle, so to speak, working Saturdays selling bacon and sausage, and then Wendy's name was on that banner, but on the new banner they included it too. So the banners are all similar, but her name is on my banner. So that's pretty
Amazing.
cool.
That's a great story.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that's very special.
so it's
Yep, for
real
sure.
meaningful for you guys to, and you probably do, respect your mom and dad, parents.
Yeah.
Mom's at home doing a lot of things, good things.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
When you're raising them up, so don't take
Sure.
it for granted. Show your appreciation.
yep,
Mhm.
for sure.
So this season, the Leafs came out with the reverse retro jerseys. So all the teams in the NHL had those new styles. Some of them were interesting, some of them were flashy. So I just want to know if you knew about the reverse retro jerseys and your thoughts on them.
I know about them. I'm like you guys. I wasn't down, or it wasn't at practice or anything. I saw when they were launched back before the season started, and then when we wore them, I like them. I mean, it's something different. With everything going on the way it is with COVID and everything being different, you can add some sort of flavor or something. I mean, some jerseys on other teams are nicer than others, but it's something that you as a fan will have as a souvenir. It's only going to happen in this 1 year, and you only wear, I think, 4 times a year. So, I think it's cool. I mean, some people say, why are you messing with tradition and leave it alone? But I'm not a believer in that. I'm always a believer in advancing and moving forward. And I think I think the fans accepted them. And I know it's kind of cool for the players when your career is over. You've got that jersey as a memory of that year.
Right.
And it's something you'll always have. So I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a good way to, I agree. I think it's a good way to honor kind of legends of past and look ahead to the future as well. Little cool story. I know Ryan had a little cool story too, so I wanted to kind of throw mine in there. But you mentioned the My Leaf sweater book. And actually, as you were saying that, I remembered that my dad used to read that book to me when I was a kid.
Okay, cool.
And it was probably one of my favorite books, and one of the books that got me into hockey, I think, other than my dad yelling at the TV every night the Leafs game was on. So I had a white Leafs jersey, no name on the back, nothing. And I remember reading that book over and over again. And I was like, oh, I wanted a name on the back. So I actually took a blue marker and I wrote Sittler on the back of the jersey, 27, spelled the name wrong. There's a Y in there somewhere. I don't remember exactly how I spelled it, but yeah, so it was a really big influence on me.
So do you still have the jersey? No?
I have to go find it. I know I kept it. There's no way I got rid of it. I have to go back and find it. I spent the day yesterday looking for it, but yeah, definitely kept it somewhere.
Well, if you find it and you want it signed, send it my way. I'll spell the name right, though.
There you go.
I'll sign it like you spelled it. You'll have an original.
Awesome. That'd be
Exactly.
so great. Thank you.
So Darryl, we did actually reach out to some of our fans, some family and friends, some listeners, and we gave them an opportunity to submit a couple questions. So we have 2 questions that we chose from them to ask you. So I'll let the guys tackle that. And I know all of our listeners will be really excited to hear your answers for these.
Yeah. So the first question was asked by Noah Waysglass and Stephen Gamis, and they both asked, who was your favorite player back as a kid when you were growing up?
Okay, well, it surprises a lot of Leaf fans because I grew up in a little village of St. Jacobs, about 60 miles from Toronto here, and big family, 8 kids. I had 5 brothers, 2 sisters, and my dad was a Leaf fan. My brothers were Leaf fans, but I was a Habs fan. Jean Beliveau was my childhood idol. And I remember quite vividly as a kid celebrating Christmas, Santa Claus left me a Jean Beliveau number 4 jersey, and I would wear that around all the time. Like, I mean, if I went to school or went to playground or even sometimes to Sunday school. And so when I was drafted by the Leafs in 1970 as a 20-year-old pick, from one of my first games was in the Montreal Forum, and I look up and I'm facing off against Jean Beliveau, which is, he was 41. That was his last year. So obviously it was a very meaningful moment and a memory that I'll always remember. But then I go on and have a successful career. In '89, I was elected in the Hall of Fame. And I got to meet Jean Beliveau through some Hall of Fame NHL events, a golf tournament or whatever. But I still had the childish, excited feeling in me and meeting him even as an adult. So that was in '89. And then my wife, Wendy, died of colon cancer, 2001. And we were living in East Amherst, New York, over by Buffalo at the time. In the morning of her funeral, I'll always remember this, is about 10:30. My phone rings and I pick it up and it's Darryl, it's Mr. Jean Beliveau. I just want you to know I'm thinking of you and your family on your most difficult day of your life. So there you are, your childhood hero. You get to meet him. And then he went and found my number through somebody, but it speaks volumes of what Jean Beliveau is as a person and is to many, not just Montreal fans, but hockey fans and Canadians alike. So that's a really cool experience and thing that happened in my life for sure.
Sure.
Wow.
It's always a nice way to start your career against your childhood idol and always having contact with him as you keep going in life. So it's a nice story to see.
That's really special. Another fan, Jacob Cohen, has asked, do you think that this Leafs team has the potential to go all the way and bring the cup to Toronto for the first time since 1967?
Well, we obviously made some meaningful acquisitions and trades, not only through the summer, but now I think management realize that, hey, we've got a good nucleus of talent there. And if we're going to take a shot at it, we got to add a few pieces that give you the depth and give you the leadership and the grit that you need to have. So can we win the cup? Yes, we can win the cup. Goaltending's a key in any team that has gone on to win a Stanley Cup. If you look at any past Stanley Cup champion, their goaltending has been awesome. And hopefully we can get that. We're obviously in a Canadian division, and you got to get by teams like Edmonton and the Habs, which they have Carey Price. So, but we certainly have a chance, and that's why the management made these deals with the idea that, hey, a guy like Nick Foligno, who I know Nick, and he's a character player and he's a character human being. It just adds another piece to it. And we all stay healthy. I think we've got the opportunity to possibly do that for sure.
Right. And I know all Leaf fans listening to this, hearing you say that they have a good shot. I mean, it's pretty exciting, and it's an exciting time to be a Maple Leafs fan. And before we let you go, we should have one last little fun game we want to play with you. It's something we do on our podcast all the time. We play 2 truths and a lie. So usually I call myself the lie master, and I come up with 3 statements, 2 of which are true, 1 is a lie. And we thought it'd be fun to play this one with you, and it'd be Darryl Sittler edition. So I'm going to read out the 3 statements, and then I'll quickly get Paul and Zach to throw their 2 cents in. And then I'll throw it over to you for the end, because I have a feeling you might know a little bit more about yourself than they do, but
Probably.
just a bit. Here we go. So statement number 1, on February 4th, 2016, when the Maple Leafs celebrated the 40th anniversary of your 10-point game, it was a pre-game ceremony. And the statement that you're looking for here was that it was a pre-game ceremony between a game between the Maple Leafs and the New York Islanders. So that's statement number 1. Statement 2, Darryl, that you hold the Maple Leafs record for hat tricks. And statement 3 is that, Darryl, you also hold the Maple Leafs record of shots in a season for the Maple Leafs. So most shots in a season. So quickly, statement 1, honoring the 40th anniversary of your 10-point game, rather. It was a game, the ceremony was a game between the Maple Leafs and Islanders. Statement 2, that you hold the Maple Leafs record for hat tricks. And statement 3, that you hold the Maple Leafs record for shots in a season. I'll throw it over to Paul quickly to hear which one you think is the lie.
So can you repeat the first question again?
Yeah, so
Just want to make sure.
Yep, the 40th anniversary was celebrated of Darryl's 10-point game.
Mhm.
And the statement here is that game that took place was between the Maple Leafs and the Islanders.
All right. So I'm pretty sure I've read that Darryl Sittler does have the Leafs record for hat tricks, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure on the first one, if it was the Islanders game or not, but I'm going to take your word for it. And I feel like the record for the most shots in a season, I know Austin Matthews has so many shots a game, and every other player like Tavares. So have a feeling that maybe one of Matthews or Tavares has that record. So I'm going to go for the shooting record as the lie, and the other 2 are the truth. As a quick
Zach,
little statement.
I'll throw it to you as well.
That's tough. Yeah, I'm kind of have the same thinking as Paul. I definitely think that the hat trick one is true, if I remember correctly, which I could or I could not. I don't know. But I'm actually going to say I think the first one was not against the New York Islanders. I don't know. The super specific, and I mean the NHL sets the season, so Leafs didn't have any control. Otherwise, they probably would have put Boston on that day. So I'm going to say that the first one was the lie.
Okay, a couple different answers there. Darryl, can you be the voice of reason for these
So
guys?
it's only one a lie?
Only one lie.
Okay, so the Islander game is true.
Yes.
Hat trick's true. What was the last one?
That you hold the Maple Leafs record for most shots in a season.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
Let's go.
Surprisingly, Zach actually takes this one.
Good.
The true statement there, the lie rather, the game on February 4th was between the Maple Leafs and the New Jersey Devils.
Okay, there you go.
A little bit of a tough
How
one.
was
We
that?
had Dion Phaneuf and Andy Green taking the draw there. But
yeah.
Darryl, you do hold the Maple Leafs record for hat tricks with 18.
And who's second, you know?
I believe it's Matt Sundin. We'll have to double check. And you do also hold the Maple Leafs record for shots in a season. You had 346 shots in 1975-76 season. So
I was thinking Ricky Vive or somebody like that.
yeah, you learn something every day. So just before we let you go, you did talk about your wife throughout our time with you here a bit today. And I know you do some work with Colorectal Cancer Canada. That's actually how we got in touch with you. So for anyone listening who wants to get involved or find out any more information, what would your recommendation be to them? Where should they go to learn more?
Well, I'm going to finish off with a story that is true and meaningful to me. And the reason I'm doing it is because who's ever listening there, it might benefit them. So my wife, Wendy, was diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 48. At that time, my young kids were growing up, youngest one off to university. We were at the stage of our life. We were just going to do the things, we were as, a married couple after raising our kids. But she was diagnosed with colon cancer. We had no idea what colon cancer was all about, but we found out quite quickly that colon cancer is the number 2 killer of cancers in both men and women, yet it's 90% preventable. When I heard that statistic, I'm thinking, how can it be 90% preventable, but it kills number 2 killer? And obviously the message wasn't getting out to people. So we were at a press conference in Toronto. I was asked to be the spokesperson in a national awareness campaign for colorectal cancer. And at the press conference, Wendy, who was being treated for chemo at the time, got up after I finished speaking and in a very emotional voice said, listen, if this whole campaign can make a difference and help one person in their lives, then it's worthwhile doing. So I've always remembered that. She died 3 years later at age 52. But when I get the opportunity to speak to people, I mentioned it to it because, and I'll tell you what happened. I get out quite a bit. I was at a corporate thing one night and the guy sitting beside me started talking to me about Wendy and colon cancer. He says, oh, my dad died of colon cancer. I said, oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that. And I said to him, I said, how old are you? And he says, I don't know, he's like 34, 35 years old. And I said, have you had a colonoscopy? And he says, no. I said, well, if your dad died of colon cancer, you have a family history, there's a better chance you might have it. So please shake my hand. I said, shake my hand and promise me you get a colonoscopy. So anyway, that was at dinner. Don't remember the guy's name or anything else. I'm up doing another charity event for Baycrest for Alzheimer's. And it was one of those events where you get drafted by a team and I go in on the Friday afternoon and I meet my new teammates I'm playing with in the tournament. This guy comes over to me. He says, Darryl, I've got an interesting story to tell you. He says, I'm a doctor. About 4 weeks ago, this gentleman came into my office. He said, the only reason I'm here is because I shook Sittler's hand to have a colonoscopy. So he says, the doc, give me the colonoscopy. He says, I just want you to know that that guy had stage 2 colon cancer. You saved his life. And when I heard that, it touched me again to make me realize that, hey, if you sit on the sidelines and say nothing, nothing's going to happen. If I don't talk about this today, then hey, that opportunity is going to go by. But in anything you do in your life, if you get involved and you take the time and the initiative to try to make a difference, you have the possibility of making a difference. So I share that with anybody today. And there might be some person listening say, hey, maybe my dad needs a colonoscopy, maybe my mom, maybe I do, Right. And this is the thing to spur them on. So I appreciate you bringing this up. We do the colorectal run a walk every year in memory of my wife. There's a Wendy bear. She wanted to die at home, and the Colorectal Foundation asked if they could have permission to do a Wendy bear. So all those proceeds from that bear, the sale of that bear, goes to help a family member who wants to die at home. It helps those expenses. So it's all good stuff, and you guys are doing a good job here. And it's always nice to pay it forward. You don't do it for the reasons that you're expecting something to come back to you, but right. I can assure you when you do it, it's amazing how doors open and things happen for you. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to share those stories with your audience, for sure.
Absolutely. And just before we send you off and wrap up, just on the three of us, on behalf of Original Six, our podcast here, in appreciation of your time, we did actually want to make a donation to Colorectal Cancer Canada. And that was how appreciative we are for you for spending some time with us. And we are going to absolutely spread the word. Again, we are so thankful that you were able to join us today. I know for three of us young Leaf fans, our inner child is kind of freaking out right now that we're hanging out with you here. So thank you again. I owe a big thank you Bunny, who put us in contact, and my dad, who helped to facilitate all of this. But again, a big thank you for you, Darryl. Huge honor. I mean, we feel like we're in the presence of greatness.
We are.
Our first guest on the podcast. You made our day. And one last thing, if you could finish us off with our signature way of ending an episode with our every Leaf fan's 3 favorite words, go Leafs go. If you could give us one of those, we'll know we had a great day.
Hey, go Leafs, go. Go get them, guys. And good luck in your careers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darryl Sittler. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you.